Hello, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome back. This is Force with some more Friday Night Magic. This week I'll be running a Goblin deck. Pretty exciting stuff. I would like to have at least two. Alright, well, I didn't really get a chance to get a good look, and unfortunately this is not the greatest hand, but we have no choice but to keep it, because I took way too long to decide on what I wanted to do. So this week, we're going to be running a Goblin deck. It's a 100% mono-red deck. Probably for the first few weeks, we'll be running some mono decks before we jump into the multicolor stuff, just because it's a little simple, straightforward, especially for those of you who may be watching who aren't super familiar with Magic, who are used to Hearthstone, for example, and I know there's a fair Hearthstone following on my channel. So the general premise of this deck is going to be we've got a ton of Goblin creatures, hilariously enough, none of which we have in play right now, but we will have a ton of Goblin creatures in play, and we're trying to overwhelm our opponent. Now typically we would have liked a bit more of an aggressive start than what we do have here, but c'est la vie, it is what it is, so we're just going to continue to play off of what we have, basically. Playing a Hall of Triumph right now. This is a legendary artifact. When it comes into play, we choose a color, and then creatures under our control of that color get +1/+1 permanently. So the sort of the mono aggro decks in Duels 2015 aren't as, I guess, hyper aggressive as things that we've seen in prior installments of Duels, because those prior decks were pre-constructed and they were able to construct them around balance. I think with the introduction of us being able to make any deck that we want, I think they've really toned back the strength of those decks as a result. But, you know, it's okay, it's not the end of the world. And we've still got some pretty solid options. So we're gonna go ahead and throw down a Goblin Rabble Master. This is a 2/2, and I'll show you exactly what it does. We're going to pass the turn over to our opponent. We can actually swing with that because it's got first strike. If you're wondering where that came from, I'll show you in 1 second. It's because of the Goblin Rabble Master. So let me show you what the Rabble Master does as soon as our turn is over. Oh, Mr. Zero watches damage effects. That's the most annoying thing in Duels. Like, what is... you need to turn that option off so people don't have to sit there while you watch damage effects unnecessarily. Okay, so the Goblin Rabble Master, it's a 2/2, pumped up to a 3/3 because of our Hall of Triumph. And all other goblins will attack each turn of Fable. But also, at start of combat, we get a 1/1 goblin token in play. So every turn, we're going to keep getting more 1/1s the longer that he's in play. And then also, when he attacks, he gets pumped up for every other goblin that's also attacking. Looks like he's going to give our creature -2/2, and then I'm assuming he has some additional minus for it, because oh, that's an aura. Okay, so it stays on him permanently. Okay, so he gives that -2/2 permanently. Well, that's fine. I actually don't really plan to attack with him anytime soon, because I want other stuff to get pumped up. Although if he has no blocker, then I absolutely will attack with him. We'll have to see if he plays another creature. We do have basically a lot of goblins to swarm the board, and then cards to pump up our goblins for a more effective attack. He's going to throw down an Elixir of Immortality. He can sacrifice it to gain 5 life. He also gets to shuffle his graveyard into his library. And he has a Child of Night in play. This is the creature he's been attacking us with. It's a vampire creature. It has the lifelink, so whenever it does damage, he gains life based on the damage that was dealt. I'm going to throw down a Kicked Bushwhacker, I think. Yeah, we're going to throw down a Kicked Bushwhacker pre-combat. What it's going to do is when we kick it, it's going to apply an additional effect, and that effect will give all of our goblins +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. Okay? And then we will go ahead and move into combat. Now, since he doesn't have a blocker at the moment, I'm assuming he's got another way to get rid of this, though. I don't know why else he would have put that enchantment on it, but... we're going to swing with everything now. Our Goblin Rabble Master will get pumped up based on all the other goblins attacking. So he gets an extra attack for each of the goblins that are also attacking with him. So that gives him 3 extra attacks. And now our opponent's down to 11. And we've got a few other spell damage abilities in our hand, but we're not going to use them at the moment. Coordinated Assault will let us give 2 creatures +1/+0 and first strike. So this will allow us, if he blocks, we can give our creature first strike, and his creature will die and our creature will live. He just played a 5/3 flying. This is actually perfect with the Coordinated Assault. This is going to work out swimmingly for us. And we won't have a win for next turn, but we're going to have... This is going to be a very, very good turn for us, because we will... Actually, I can Act of Treason and coordinated assault. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. We actually have the win right now. So we're gonna active treason. It's gonna let us take control of a creature, and it becomes ours until end of turn, and then we can attack with it as well. So pre-combat, active treason. I'm gonna take his 5/3 flyer, okay? And then we move into combat. We're gonna get an extra goblin token from our Rabble Master here, and then we're gonna swing with everything that we have. And this is just straight up the win right here. So even when he chooses to block, watch what we'll do. As soon as he decides to block, we're gonna pause and play coordinated assault. This is gonna give him +1/+0 and first strike, and then we can do that to another creature as well. We'll do that to another one of our goblins. First strike means that his damage applies first, and if he kills the other creature, he won't die through that transaction. But the other great thing is we have fatal damage just on attacking, so that is game number 1. GG. And for match number 2, this is not that great of a opener hand. Not at all. So we're gonna draw a new one. And I really don't want to go down to 6. We'll keep this one. I don't know. I don't want to go down to 6. So, and we had a turn 1 play. That's the only reason I decided to keep it, because I didn't want to go down, because we had a turn 1 play. We just need to hope that we draw into more lands, basically, though. So we're going to start off here with the Goblin Arsonist. It's a 1/1, and when it dies, we get to have it deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Beyond this, we have the Rabble Master. You saw that last game. A couple of coordinated assaults to pump up 2 creatures and give them first strike until end of turn. Might end up using that right now if he chooses to block with that. We've got the Shock, we've got a couple of Skull Cracks, which we'll be using especially in this matchup because our opponent has life gain, so we're going to be trying to offset that life gain if at all possible. So well, let's just go into combat. Let's see what he decides to do. I'm going to choose to attack him for 1. We'll see if he decides to take it or if he wants to kill the Arsonist. I'll probably Shock it if he tries to block it. Okay, he lets it go through. So that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and pass the turn on over. Now, if he tries to gain life, we'll probably be throwing down a Skull Crack. What Skull Crack does is it deals damage and it prevents life from being gained and damage from being prevented during a turn. He's gonna attack us for 2, that's fine. The idea is that with more goblins in play, they all synergize together. We get goblins pumping up other goblins and things like that, and we're also a swarm deck, so we want to have as much in play as possible. Alright, I'm going to Skull Crack him. So he loses life, and he cannot gain the life from this creature. So this comes in play, and normally he would gain 4 life off of it. Skull Crack is going to stop that from happening. This is sort of annoying, though. There we go. Now we can play the Rabble Master. Oh, no. Didn't want to do that yet. I wanted to wait until after the attack phase, because I actually didn't want to attack. Yet, at least. But, oh, he's gonna let it both go through? Wow, that's surprising to me. Alright. Yeah, I was planning to not attack, but, I mean, it did enable us to get that extra goblin, which is good. The only thing I worry about is if he's got board clear. He's playing a Millstone, so he's gonna be running a mill deck, interestingly enough. Our coordinated assaults are gonna come into great effect next turn. Okay, he's going to attack. We're going to let all that go through. The idea is that we should be able to outpace his damage, so. Alright, we're going to play the Foundry Street Denizen. Whenever a new goblin comes into play, he gets pumped up. That's how that works. And then I think we're just going to attack. Let's go ahead and move into combat phase. Combat phase activated, we get an extra 1/1 goblin from our Rabble Master. And then we go ahead and attack. Let's see if he decides to block at all. This guy gets pumped up to a 5/2. And actually, before he can declare blockers, because I want my 5/2 to go through, we're going to shock his 1/1. So if he blocked and then I killed it, he still would have blocked the damage. The damage would still be blocked once he declares a blocker. But if I do it before he declares a blocker, then he cannot block and the damage is forced through. All right. go ahead and pass the turn. We are in a very good position right now. So long as he doesn't board clear. We've got a very strong board. This thing is going to be getting pumped up at least one extra attack next turn. We've got the coordinated assault, so if he tries to block and kill our Rabble Master, I mean, we could also not attack with the Rabble Master, but if he tries to block and kill it, because I'm likely going to attack with it, we can coordinate assault to give him first strike, so he will live through that engagement. And this deck is also chock full of mass creature pump up. So if we draw into any of that, let's keep our fingers crossed. What did he throw off the top deck? He threw 2 mountains off the top deck. That's great for us because we didn't want those 2 mountains. No. We want some of our mass removal. So we're gonna let this 2 go through. Excuse me, we want some of our mass creature pump up, which again, this deck has got a bunch of different cards that will pump up all of our goblins. We did not end up drawing into that though, unfortunately enough. However, we have the win this turn. Yes, we do. Yeah, we absolutely do. Okay, so into combat phase. Goblin is triggered, comes into play. That's gonna pump up our Foundry Street Denizen. Then we declare attackers. Everything's going through. We commit to that attack. He gets pumped up for all the other goblins attacking. He's gonna try to block that, obviously. And then we're gonna do 2 things. We can actually do 3 things. We're gonna overkill. We're gonna go overkill. Okay. Coordinated assault. Give him pump up, give him pump up. Wonderful. Coordinated assault. Give him pump up, give him pump up. Wonderful. Skull crack. Deal 3 damage to his face. Make it so that life cannot be gained for this turn. Damage cannot be prevented. Enough damage is going through to him to kill him. Not that it matters, but our creature's staying alive. And that's game number 2. Oh no! Game number 3 is against Pastorino. I'm scared. Let's draw a new hand. Yeah, I'm hoping for some of my. I guess we'll keep this one. Yeah, we'll keep this one. Unfortunately, Pastorino Rigatoni Blobberoni, I don't know. Elvish Pioneer, alright, I think we're going to be playing against a green ramp deck. That has me a little scared, especially since we're getting off to a little bit of a slow start because we do not have a 1-drop that we want to play. We do have the Goblin Bushwhacker, but that's not a card that that's not a goblin that you want to play on your first turn, basically. So we're just going to be holding back for a little bit. And that's concerning to me, because the deck that we're playing against is likely to have some very large creatures within the next couple of turns, and that is going to be hard for us to get past. Ooh, green-red, okay. I honestly expected mono-green. I mean, Pioneer doesn't necessarily dictate that. It just, that's my own just perception, because recently started toying around with a mono green ramp deck and I had Pioneer in it, but again, this is not Duels 2014, 13, 12, whatever, and everyone can make whatever deck they please, so we could be seeing what the heck ever going on here. A little concerned that I'm seeing red though, because red has the potential for mass damage across the board, mass removal, and that can obviously be a huge problem for me, as you expect, because we have a ton of weenie creatures. We're going to play the Hall of Triumph, at least attempt to. Choose red, that's going to pump up our creatures. And I'm going to swing with both of them. Let's see if he's got removal. Here's a shock for one of them. And one of them goes bye-bye. Well, I'd rather him shock that as a token than something else potentially scarier. I wonder if he's got another shock, or if he will just be playing a large creature next turn, which means that he's okay with leaving one in play and sacrificing his creature to block it. There we go, there's a 4/4. Flying haste, protection from white. When Dragon becomes monstrous, it deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards in that player's hand. So he's gonna be able to do that at 7. Alright, I just need to race him now. He just hit me with a 4/4. I can do a lot of damage very quickly though. So, in fact, this is gonna be a pretty big turn right here. Ready? We're gonna go Krenko's Command. 2 1/1s in play. And then, now the question is, do I want to swing with all those? Yeah, let's do that. We're going to Goblin Bushwhacker. We're going to kick it, which is going to pump up our goblins +1/+0, plus give all my creatures haste. So now we can swing with everything. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 12 damage to the face. Ba-bam! Just like that. Just like that. 12 damage to his face. He is now down to 8. It's so crazy. The burst damage of this deck is so crazy. Now, he can completely just screw me over right now with mass damage across the board. I'm done. I'm done. But if he does not do that, then he loses next turn. Most likely. He is just saving for blocker. If he does not have instant mass removal, it's GG for him. Yeah, I mean, I can only play one of these anyways. So we're going to attempt to play our Goblin Shortcutter. Comes into play, we get to choose a creature. That creature cannot block this turn. This is why I said he loses. His creature can't block now. So, now, we move into combat. And we swing. We have exactly 8 damage. 2, 4, 6, 8, and you know what's even hilarious? More hilarious? We can pump them all up, +2/+0, and RIP Rigatoni Pastaroni decided to leave the game. And because these games have been so absurdly quick, let's go ahead and sneak one more in for today. Yeah, I'll keep this one, keep this hand. I mean, I'm not digging the fact that I keep going second here, though, I gotta be honest with you. I'm playing the Goblin deck, man. Let me go first. We're gonna open up with our Foundry Street Denizen. Probably my favorite turn 1 play because it's gonna get pumped up every time a new Goblin comes into play. So this really, a lot of times, allows us to push through some early damage, some very strong early damage. We also have the Goblin Shortcutter. That's nothing I typically want to play early, but I might still do that if we don't see anything from him. Just so we can start getting some damage through very quickly. We could do 2 damage this turn, 4 damage next turn. And yeah, we don't have... So we're just going to do that. I'm just going to play the Goblin Shortcutter. It's going to pump him up. A lot of times I want to wait until there's a creature of his that could block and prevent it from blocking. But he's off to a slow start. So if I can take advantage of that and just keep pushing and just get a huge lead on him, we've got the Act of Treason, so we can eventually steal one of his creatures for the turn and have it attack for us. But yeah, typically this is a card you're saving until a big final push and preventing one of their blockers from blocking, which is exactly what it does. Let's see if he's got anything now, or is he running like a super late game slow deck? Oh boy, this makes me quite pleased, to be honest with you. What doesn't make me pleased though is I actually don't really have any play that I would want to play right now. There's nothing that I don't want to play any of these right now. That's a huge bummer, so I'm just gonna have to swing for 4. He's gonna play a Fog. Okay, fine. Prevent the damage for the turn. Fog, this is the old school damage prevention card. 1 cost, 1 green mana, prevent all damage for the turn. It's an instant. It's pretty amazing. I love the card. I love the card. It's no Spike Weaver, but, you know. It's pretty awesome stuff. Pretty awesome stuff. So, based on what we're seeing here, and the fact that he hasn't played any early game, he's running a control-style deck. 100% control. Let's try to play this. Might have a counterspell for it. He does not, okay. And I played this pre-combat because it would pump up our Denizen here. And then we're going to attempt to swing for 4. Was he got another Fog or something? Voyage's End. What is this garbage? Return target creature to its owner's hand. He's gonna do it to both of my creatures. Okay, that's fine. Whatever, dude. He's gonna return both of them to my hand. That's fine. Okay, there's one, there's the other. Fantastic. Pastorino, Garbarino. I don't know what I'm saying. We're gonna play this Foundry Street Denizen. And we're not gonna get the advantage of the pump up for next turn. But it would be an extra 2 damage. It would be the extra 1/2 damage. And this is 2 damage as it is. So we get the extra damage from replaying both of those anyways. So we're just gonna do it. And then now next turn, we can swing for 2, 3, 4. And potentially more with our Trumpet Blast. Alright, he's gonna play a 2/2. And if he attempts to use it as a blocker, we will be throwing down a Coordinated Assault. I'm really not digging what's going on here, though. Or I could just shock it. Coordinated Assault now, or just shock his creature. The fact that we don't have any zombies right now, zombies. The fact that we don't have any more goblins besides what we do right now, by the way, is astounding. I actually think I just want to shock it. I'll tell you why. It's because I think the Coordinated Assault could be more useful in the future. So, just gonna shock it, swing for 4, swing for this. And again, I'm not going to use my pump up because this pump up is best used when I've got a ton of goblins. Because the more goblins I have, this damage to all my attacking creatures is multiplied that much larger. But I'm a little bummed out right now. Like any other goblin that we draw. The best would be like a Krenko's Command, but all right, he's gonna cultivate. This lets him get a land in play tapped, plus get a land in his hand. He's only got one other card in his hand right now. This will put him at 2. But he doesn't really have a lot going on at the moment, so I'm feeling pretty good. He's got 2 cards, one of them is a land, so he's only got one other actual useful card. Alright, so maybe we're gonna go Trumpet's Blast right now, just for a little extra damage, for a potential victory next turn. Actually, no, we still wouldn't have that, but... Alright, let's go ahead and move into the combat phase. Let's attack, see if he decides to do anything. Nothing. Okay, we're gonna Trumpet's Blast right now. It's gonna be add 6 damage to the attack. Oh, there's a dissolve, so here's a counterspell for him. Alright. Well, that was his other card, so all that he has in his hand right now is a land. He's obviously gonna draw into something, but he countered that. But our 4 damage still goes through, but he countered the extra 6. Alright, so actually, unless he draws into a counterspell, we could win this turn too. What I hope happens is I hope he plays a big creature, because then we'll just active treason. So there's the land, and Skullcrack. Okay, so we could win this turn with another coordinated assault. So let's see what happens. Unless he just top decked a counterspell or bounce. Attempt to Trumpet Blast. It goes through. That's 10 damage. He's at 10 life. GG! GG! Alright, let's go ahead and wrap up this week's episode of Friday Night Magic by taking a look at the Goblin Swarm deck. First off, we've got 3 coordinated assaults, pumping up our creatures, 2 of them +1/+0, and giving them first strike until end of turn. A great way to stop blockers from killing your goblins and to kill their creatures. The Goblin Arsonist, it's a 1/1 goblin that when it dies, it deals 1 damage to our creature player. A lot of times, if you've got both of these cards in your hands, though, you want to open up with the Foundry Street Denizen on turn 1, get that 1/1 goblin in play, and then turn 2, play a Goblin Arsonist and just maybe other goblin. Or a great thing to do would be turn 1 Foundry Street Denizen, turn 2 play 2 Foundry Street Denizens, and that would give him +2/+0. And then the next turn, if you play 1 or 2 more goblins, you are hitting super hard very, very fast, very, very early on in the game. The Goblin Bushwhacker, never really want to play this turn 1, because its kicker effect is so amazing. It gives all of your creatures +1/+0 and haste until end of the turn, so it's best used when you've got a bunch in play. I've got 4 of those here in the deck. 4 shocks for just target removal, very, very nice. 3 of the Skullcrack, so it's an extra 3 damage to the player, but the 2 big bonus effects are what make this amazing. Players can't gain life this turn, so it's great against any life gain deck in response to something you're doing. And then also damage can't be prevented this turn, so this forces damage through. Very, very nice. Goblin Shortcutter, best used when your opponent has a blocker and you're trying to force damage through. You play this, you make it so that the one creature they left to block can't block anymore, and then you just attack with everything. Got the Krenko's Command. It might seem like this deck doesn't have a lot of goblins and only seeing a couple in the early set here, but the Krenko's Command is 2 1/1 goblins for 2 mana. So this helps you fill up the board and helps makes things like the Goblin Bushwhacker that much more effective. We've got the Goblin Rabble Master, 2 of these in the deck. It makes it so that all your other goblins have to attack each turn, which is kind of a drawback. It is a drawback, but it also gives you a free 1/1 goblin every single turn. Plus, when he attacks, he gets popped up +1/+0 for each other attacking goblin. Trumpet Blast. This is really your burst damage. We've got 4 of these in the deck. You attack with 3 1/1s. Doesn't seem like much. You play a Trumpet Blast, then all of a sudden you've got 9 damage. 4 1/1s goes from 8 damage to 12 damage. I mean, it adds a lot of damage very, very quickly. Obviously, it's an instant cast as well. Active Treason, this is a nice sort of endgame finisher. Even if your opponent has a blocker and you're close to killing them off, Active Treason, take their creature, attack them with their own creature, and that's usually for the kill. And then we've got 2 Hall of Triumphs. In past iterations in Goblin decks, you would normally not play with this. You'd play with a much better version of it that was also a Goblin card itself. But Hall of Triumph is decent. It's going to pump up all of your red creatures +1/+1, and that's nice. That's extra damage, that's extra health, and there you go. That's a pretty straightforward deck. Goblin Swarm. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned next week for another episode of Friday Night Magic. Hope you have a fantastic day. Keep watching and keep owning.